really make it look easy.
Is the SSERAFIM doomed? It would be an understatement to say they've been having a rough 2024, and it seems like it's only going to get worse from here. While it's a little early to say, I feel pretty confident that Hype's release of the new documentary Make It Look Easy might be one of the biggest PR missteps they've made so far this year, and that's really saying something for Hype. Let's talk about it. Part 1. Wishful Thinking and Self-Fulfilling Prophecies. SSERAFIM has been set up for failure from the very beginning, starting with their concept and proceeding with each successive major release. Prior to the group's release, they had a documentary called The World is My Oyster, which was actually my first exposure to them. This was actually really early on in my K-pop listening. I didn't have any affection whatsoever for IZ*ONE, so the appearance of Chaewon and Sakura didn't really mean anything to me personally. The documentary gave me an opportunity to get to know each individual performer before I saw them perform, though, and I really appreciated that. I wasn't immediately sold on Fearless when it first came out, but it grew on me very quickly. In fact, I actually have a rewrite of it about my cat Marla, so if you stick around to the end, I'll perform that for you to thank you for your patience. SSERAFIM's next release, Anti-Fragile, would go on to be my song of the year for 2022, and from that point on, I've been a diehard Fear Not. Chojimi did a really good video, because literally every video he does is really good, about whether Fearless and Anti-Fragile were descriptions of who SSERAFIM is or wishful thinking. During Make It Look Easy, we repeatedly see Sakura breaking down as she struggles with her poor self-confidence, making it abundantly clear that it was very much the latter. They're hoping that claiming themselves to be fearless and anti-fragile might make them such, but it hasn't quite worked out that way. Their next release, Unforgiven, where they would proudly proclaim themselves to be villains, would prove to be quite true indeed, because that was the final release before their villain arc really began. Up until then, and really through that comeback, they were K-pop's darlings, competing with their label mates New Jeans to be one of the hottest acts in town. It has been breaking my heart to watch the Fear Nots and Bunnies rip each other apart in 2024 because I like both of those groups so much. But in a real way, I'm not here to talk about the Minheejin drama today. That is a dumpster fire that merits an entire series of its own. SSERAFIM's next comeback, Easy, would prove to be a tremendous misfire on a lot of different levels. They received backlash for shooting inside of a church. The video was banned for containing a scene where Chaewon drops a hairdryer into a bathtub, a scene which totally didn't need to be in the music video, by the way. The Easy encore stages will go down in history as some of the worst we've ever seen. And after watching the Make It Look Easy documentary, it comes as no surprise that they struggled with those encore stages. They were completely unprepared. They showed up to shoot their music video without even having their choreography dialed in. Between all of their world touring and appearances, they just didn't have time to practice enough. It's a dance style and a vocal style that none of them had experience with. It was just a cruel joke to name a song that was that difficult for them to perform easy. SSERAFIM collectively cry about how hard the song is during the documentary. It seems that no amount of saying, damn, I really make it look easy is enough to actually make it easy at all. Part 2. Confidential Confidence. Sakura was insecure about her singing before the group even launched. You see her talking about that in The World is My Oyster when she was saying that she wanted to have fewer lines because she was insecure about whether she was going to do well enough. By the time Make It Look Easy rolls around, those insecurities have been amplified to an alarming degree. The documentary shows her having to dip out of a fan meet because she was feeling so insecure after watching her own performance on the big screen. There's a meme that has been circulating recently about the Olympics pertaining to how Jordan Childs has been training at Simone Biles' training facility. Jordan Childs was repeatedly passed over for elite gymnastics positions because of her inconsistency. So when she got to Simone's training facility, the first thing they worked on was not her skills, but her confidence. And considering that the two went on to stand on an Olympic podium together this week, I'd say that they were pretty successful in that endeavor. When I look at Sakura's performance, this is what I see. Not someone who is incapable, but someone who is terrified. I spent my entire childhood doing musical theater and chorus. I absolutely remember hearing my voice crack on songs that I knew I could perform flawlessly because I happened to have an audience in front of me at the time. And that was just an audience of middle schoolers, not an audience of the literal entire world. The worst part is that all of the footage was filmed before their Coachella performance, when they were dragged the most brutally for their vocals. So however much we see them suffering, it only got worse. We actually watch multiple multiple members have panic attacks over the course of the documentary, which, as someone who has them herself, is very difficult at times. It's clear that the amount of pressure these girls are under is absolutely unfathomable. It kills me that people are going to look at this footage of Sakura and say that she's weak as a result of it, when I look at it and think that she's just so unbelievably strong to have endured this for so long. Which brings us to part 3, free ammunition. I really wonder what the thought process was at Hype behind releasing a documentary like this. On the one hand, it is genuinely a very good documentary. I was riveted. I spent at least half of it in tears because, as I've said before, I can't watch people I care about cry and not also cry myself. So the fact that I was willing to sit through it despite all that means it must have been pretty decent. However, there are plenty of SSERAFIM antis who would argue that the reason I spent it in tears was the manipulative editing and the dramatic music. I'm sure that helped, but you do understand what a documentary is, right, guys? If the editing and the music is heightening the mood, then it means it was done effectively. Although leave it to Kpop fans to turn high production value into a negative. The problem is, even though Fear Nots are going to be the ones who sit down and watch this documentary from start to finish, I don't think we're really the ones who it was targeted at. I feel like maybe they were trying to make the haters back off as a result of watching this and seeing how it's impacting the performers, but I've been on the internet long enough to know that it's only going to embolden them. The entire documentary ends up reading as a desperate plea for people to stop picking on them so hard. But unfortunately, the people who are picking on them are just going to pick and choose sound bites. And so what this documentary ended up serving as is a treasure trove of free ammunition. It shows conclusively that the haters are winning. Their unkind words were having a negative impact on the SSERAFIM performers well before any of the drama pertaining to Coachella. SSERAFIM has another comeback later this August, and the pressure may never have been higher. I can only cross my fingers and hope that the people at Source Music actually opted to choose a song that was within the vocal ranges of the performers. That's one of those issues that doesn't happen when performers are writing their own music. I would never write a song for myself that's not in a comfortable range for myself, but if a K-pop record executive decides that this is the sound, you're going to be assigned a part that may or may not fit your best attributes, and you may or may not succeed as a result. Every SSERAFIM performance is going to be under a microscope, even on a level worse than it was before. I want more than anything for these girls to succeed, but I feel like we're not going to see that happen until their record label chooses to give them the tools they need and the time to dial it in. Part 4, in hopes of nuance. KTube, like much of the internet, is a highly polarized place. The loudest opinions are usually the ones you hear. When we read text, we completely lose tone, and the gray area between critique and hatred can become very murky indeed. This gap in understanding is deeply exacerbated by the reliance on text-to-speech voice on so many of these channels that just pump out unpopular opinion videos every single day. Like, I'm definitely not here to hate on unpopular opinion videos because I've made several of them myself, but some channels just make it a brand. And when you don't attach a human voice to what you're saying, it comes off as even meaner than it needs to. AI voices are incapable of imparting proper nuance. But likewise, there isn't any nuance to a smooth-brained perspective like Sakura sucks at singing. There has to be space to provide meaningful critique without making ad hominem attacks or hating on the group. Standing a group shouldn't mean defending every single thing they do under every single circumstance. Sometimes wanting your group to succeed requires them to take feedback. However, it's impossible to provide that feedback when it's just a single drop of positive feedback in an ocean of haterade. I hope more than anything that I'm wrong, and that this documentary does actually cause some of SSERAFIM's haters to rethink their actions. But after watching it, I can't help but think that SSERAFIM might have been doomed to fail before they ever even debuted. Their fallen angel concept necessitated a fall from grace, but did it have to be so swift and brutal? And is it even possible for SSERAFIM to recover at this point? Source Music's attempt to humanize them isn't going to be enough to make people treat them like they're humans. That's the trouble with being an idol. The higher your pedestal, the further the fall. Part 5. Baby Girl. Well, that was a bummer, wasn't it? Thank you for sitting through one of my most depressing episodes yet. I am here to make good on my word and provide you with my cover of Fearless, which I rewrote in honor of my cat Marla, who is 16 years old and approximately 6.7 pounds of pure unadulterated sass. and it's now called Baby Girl. This song is wicked high, so bear with me. Remember that thing where I said that songwriters would never write themselves songs that were out of their range? I would never write this song for myself. And if I was in Sakura's position, I would probably struggle to perform it live as well. Anyway, this is a cappella and there's no auto-tune, so be nice. Babe, 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 babe. Babe, 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 babe. Chill out, you're a cute cat and you look like you need attention. Lay down, you're so great now, patting your face to show affection. Slinking up and down the hall, her body's primed for cuddling. The cutest resting bitch face cat you ever have met, son. Whoa, you were on my lap, my lap. Whoa, gonna take a nap, a nap. She's old lady, she's still baby, my love. Whoa, you are such a cat, a cat. You're a kitty cat, you're a kitty cat. What a pretty cat, what a pretty cat. Not a shitty cat, not a shitty cat. She's baby girl. Tucker get away, Tucker get away. She doesn't wanna play, doesn't wanna play. Tucker get away, Tucker get away. She's baby girl. Babe, 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 babe. Babe, 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 she's baby girl. She may be old lady, but she's still my baby. That's why she's my favorite. She's baby girl. You're a kitty cat, you're a kitty cat. What a pretty cat, what a pretty cat. Not a shitty cat, not a shitty cat. She's baby girl. Tucker get away, Tucker get away. She doesn't wanna play, doesn't wanna play. Tucker get away, Tucker get away. She's baby girl. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether about my bad cover song, the documentary, or the future of SSERAFIM in general. But this time I really mean it. Don't be toxic, and I'll catch you next time.